Hello guys, how are you? My name is Leslie Alfredsson and I have the pleasure to welcome you to the third session of Digitalisation Once Upon a Failure. And today's theme is implementation gone wrong, and we will talk with project leaders that they are experts in this matter. As you know, guys, all we make mistakes. Some opt to cover them up and never speak about them, but you and I are not like that. You see failure as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to bounce back. And that's why you are watching this show. DigiHub supports companies and the public sector with digitalization. And through Once Upon a Failure, the idea is to highlight that the journey of digitalization isn't always easy, and that's okay. We do this by sharing stories of failure in a light-hearted and fun manner, using a virtual studio and a stage for our invited guest speakers. The emphasis is on lessons learned and cultivating a culture of openness around the common challenges we face in digitalization. Embracing failure is heroic. So let me dive right in and introduce our first hero and guest speaker of the day. So, hello, Magnus. How are you?
Hello, thank you. I'm fine, thank you.
We're so happy to have you here.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to presenting my failures to you.
That's great. But what about before we get started? I will introduce who you are. Magnus Lindgren built his first web page in 1996 and founded his first IT company in 1999. Since then, Magnus has been working with web development and always tried to stay on top of the ever-expanding field of associated technologies. With his current firm, NewSeed, Magnus is trying to combine all that experience with a focus on innovation and future development. As an entrepreneur, Magnus has had many successes, but of course, also a vast amount of failures. And this is what you will share with us today. So,
yes.
Are you ready, Magnus?
Yes.
Okay.
Shall I start the presentation?
Yes, please. Let's do this.
So, well, my name is Magnus Lindgren. I'm the founder of the NewSeed, and I've been an entrepreneur and working with innovation basically my whole life. I've never had a steady job, always been self-employed. And today I will talk about not being afraid to succeed. Now, you probably thought I was going to say fail, given the topic of today. But before you start writing reviews about the daftest piece of advice you've ever received, let me explain a little bit more about who I am and what I really mean by not being afraid to succeed. So my background is I started working with computers or programming in the early 80s. I used my older brother's Commodore VIC-20, where I wrote my first program. In the mid-90s, I built my first web page. I have a screenshot from one I found from 1997, but as you said in the intro, the first one was 96 or even maybe 95. And since 1999, I have had my own business where I developed an e-commerce system that was bought by a economics company and sold in Sweden, Norway, and Finland. But I grew tired of being just a consultant and just doing the traditional consultant work and not so much innovation. So from 2009, I founded my own company called NewSeed, where I would have a big focus on innovation and also a sheer amount of failures that I will go through today. But for me, entrepreneurship and digitalization especially is a lot about trial and error. So you keep trying and you keep doing the same thing until you finally get it right. And the picture you see here with my business card neatly situated in front of the Golden Gate, that may seem like an easy picture to take. I'm using it in lots of marketing material for my company. I even have it here as behind me as yeah, we use it in all kinds of communication. But while that may seem easy, taking that picture was not so easy. I actually rented a bike in Fisherman's Wharf, San Francisco, and then I biked all the way along the coast, over the bridge, down to Sausalito, and I took a picture roughly every kilometer or so, and one of those pictures turned out to be the one that I'm using. So while this may seem like a lot of failures, this is, of course, what entrepreneurship is about. Just trying, and finally you will get it right. So when I started NewSeed, I said that I wanted to focus on innovation and digital innovation in particular. And when you have an idea, you often have a clear thing that you want to do, and then you have a clear goal in your head where you want to go. And this usually looks something like your plan here in this picture, the top picture. You have where you are, you have a bicycle so you can go fast, and you have a goal post slightly uphill. In reality, when you start doing that, you realize that it's more like it will feel more like the reality in the picture below. You will have uphill, you will have downhill, you will have lots of unforeseen things that will happen to you. And most significantly, I think, in this picture is that while the top image have a clear goal sign, the bottom image have no goal sign. So there are just these lap flagpoles or milestone flagpoles, but there is no real goal. Every time you reach a goal, you will just face even more problems and even more things ahead of you. And of the mistakes that I've done many mistakes, but the one I want to highlight here is something we are very good at and bad at in digital development, and that is that when we define a problem, we set up a plan for how to build it, and then we start programming, for example, or we start developing marketing plans or whatever. But what we do is we build up a knowledge base of what is good about our product or what is good about our service. But we equally and even more build up a long backlog of things that are bad, things that don't work, things that are bugs, things that are missing features. And we will get this long tail of bad things that we know about our own product or service. And as a good entrepreneur, and given the mood of failure today, that it's good to fail. You can just accept this and say, okay, we have all these failures, but we know about them. Let's just go about and fixing all those failures. And we go about fixing the failures. And what happens is you will advance on this reality slide below, and you will maybe come to the next milestone. But when you get there, you realize you have even more problems to fix and even more bugs, and it's keep expanding. And as a good entrepreneur, you just keep fixing them because failures are okay. We should embrace failures. But there's the problem I want to highlight with this is something that's is a psychological bias called the bias of knowledge. It's also known as the curse of knowledge. And this is that all the things that we know, we assume other people will understand or know the same thing. So all the good things about our products, we usually think that why doesn't the client understand how great our product is? Because they don't see the greatness because we don't communicate it. But other part of the problem is we see all the flaws and all the errors in the product, and we may be afraid that those errors are too big to overcome. So the curse of knowledge is explained by a psychological experiment that two people sitting in a room, one of the persons have earphones on, and in the earphones there's a tune playing. And the person with the earphone is asked to tap the melody on the table that he hears in the earphones. And after he or she has tapped the melody, they are asked to rate the probability that the person who did not hear the music but just heard the tapping, how likely were they to guess the correct song that were playing in the headphones. And most people will exaggerate the probability that the other person will guess the correct song. And the reason for this is said to be because you know the answer. So for you, the answer is obvious. And for us in the development world, we know all the errors. So for us, all the errors and all the bugs, they are obvious. So if we release, people will just they will not like our product because of all the errors, but they might not even know that they are there. So what I'm trying to say here is that you should focus on first going for this minimum viable product that everybody keeps talking about, and really accepting the minimal viable product, because it's a failure if you keep going on and keep being afraid of putting yourself out there. So what I mean by don't be afraid to succeed is that sooner or later you have to take all those failures, accept them, put yourself on stage and say, okay, we've got this, we have this product, we can build this, and more or less ignore the failures, because it's quite a comfortable place to be when you have those failures, because when you have them safe back at your backlog, you can keep working at them in your own pace. You prioritize them according to what you think is right. But once you put it out there, it might be that those failures, they're not even worth it. You will get other failures, you will get other feedback from users. And daring to do that, daring to succeed, that is what I want you to overcome with everything you plan on new innovation and stuff. And I actually had a business friend of mine who ran a company, and he said that the developers, they keep telling me we're not ready to ship, we have this error, we have that error. And they kept talking about different aspects of the product. And I said, well, are you sure they're not afraid to succeed? They're not afraid to just put it out there, see what happens, and accept those failures. And he thanked me very much and said he didn't think about it that way. And I don't have information about how it actually went for that case, but I've seen it in many other companies as well, that you're afraid of your own backlog of failures. So that fear makes you afraid to succeed. So that is my message. Don't be afraid to succeed. Magnus Lindgren from NewSeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. I really love what you said. But remember, all of you that you are watching, we will have at the end, we'll have a panel discussion. So you guys, please send your questions so then we can continue with the discussion. Thank you so much. The curse of knowledge. I really like that, Magnus. We have to dig into it later. Thank you. So now I will welcome our next guest. Hello, Peggie. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you very much.
We're so happy to have you here, but let me introduce who you are. Are you ready? Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. So Peggie K, CEO on IQ Solutions, with a will of doing anything got me to explore and gain experience in everything. Peggie started her career in India from small-scale companies to large enterprises like Nestlé, varying from IT, food, and retail. In Sweden, also worked as a waitress, teaching assistant, digital sales executive, before an absolute new challenge by starting a partnership company. Now, Peggie is the founder of On IQ Solutions for growing new ideas into products of use and developing win-win partnerships. She delights in helping startups and established enterprises bringing innovative products to market and bridges the gap between human and technology in a sustainable fashion. Wow, so interesting. So we can wait to hear what you have to say. So welcome. The stage is yours, Peggie.
Thank you. Yeah, when I hear by myself, it's like amazing to hear. But it was a tough journey, I'll say. So not an easy journey from, coming from India to Sweden. Well, I will add how I got interested when I was in a college. So started learning very old programming language, which is called Pascal. I don't know, many of you heard it maybe. And working with my dad in administration. So I was like, oh, so exciting. I want to do everything that. Yes. So it's like, yeah, Flores is yours, you know, you can try everything, but remember, you have to learn to fail. So I was very interested that you invited me to this once upon a failure. And it's always a failure which leads to success. I'll just, before starting my presentation, I'll just say something about OnIQ Solutions, what we do. Well, we are a software consulting company based in Lund, in Sweden. And we help in businesses providing image analysis and machine learning tools to integrate, which comes to specialization in OnIQ vision. So it's testing proof of concepts, minimal viable products from startups to large enterprises. And this project, which I will name this time, which is also success and failure story, it's like both hand in hand. It is in image analysis, which is done by OnIQ Vision. So what we did is we created 3D images from still images. For, as you see, the picture is very interesting. I also like this picture so much. So I put it in all my presentation, this picture, and I explained this project to our clients. This is like a still image where you see it's like a 3D applications going on. And this technique is, I don't know how many are you familiar with photogrammetry. It's a science of measuring, if I can still repeat it, it's like science of measuring physical objects through photographic images, or in practical terms, creating 3D models of objects from pictures taken from different angles. So that's what was the idea of the project. That leads to me success and failure. Yeah, it goes in hand, I'll tell you. We started building proof of concept, which was actually, we thought it is a proof of concept, which will lead to me later, what went wrong with it. So we have to test the model. We need to build the app for it. And testing basically needed that is what proof of concept is, testing with available research material, which means training the model for moving objects and then build an app for it. So we also did some parametrical modeling, model training. Yeah, sounds so simple. So, but yes, expectations is what didn't match basically with the customers, and with what we thought we are doing was really mismatched at the end of the product, because proof of concept is something which is like conceptual, you know, you test it, which is not done before, and you test the idea to do it, which can go wrong in different manner. You have to be agile for it, you have to be open, you have to be flexible. It will lead to failure in the beginning, or yeah, it will totally crash. You never know. It will crash as in test as well. So that is the limitation for proof of concept, and you need to be very realistic with the expectations you put in to the client. And that's what we do when we take, starting from startup companies to large, we need to say and set the realistic approach to it, that it can, this is what material is. You need to be very transparent. That's how we start the project. We go back in timeline. And then we say that, okay, we started here, we see the study material, we see pre-study material, and then we go further with it to test the idea. And you need to believe the idea to test it as well. So don't forget that. Yeah, what went wrong? As on IQ as well, in internal, we say that communication is the best policy. That is what is needed for every relationship. I know it's like overdriven, but fact is communication is very important because it relays the in interpersonal relationships and with customers, external relationships, within the team you build, within the projects you make. So it was a massive failure with the communication with the customer because of the party we trusted had kind of, it was like a mismatch of the idea of proof of concept. The idea at the end was it's a minimal viable product where it's ready to use. You just it's finished. Customer was expecting that it is ready to market product, and that totally went wrong. And that can I'll tell you that is the very serious problem when doesn't what you delivered with full of your effort, what you delivered doesn't match the customer expectations because of the communication failure. Because you think this product which we built is ready to market, ready for the investors, which basically is a test of an idea. So yeah, that was yeah, we need to really solve it. But we didn't give up. It led to many consequences for it, of course. It delayed in the project timeline. We have to show our comeback, that how can we basically go further and how can we divert the focus from real product idea to the operative problem of the project. So it's what it did, I'm saying, delaying project timeline, team spirit affected, mistrust, distraction from ultimate goal and success of the project, because that was the real idea we believed in. It's not easy to train the model and train a moving object in from 3D to make a product out of it. It was not done before. So we were kind of very happy. We were very happy about the results we produced. And then what it needs to be done, it has to be, we need to rethought our strategies for early stage involvement. We have to think how we can come early as in key players, which key players we need to involve early. You need to kind of go through how you used to have early of key players where they say that, okay, this developer, this is the team we need to have, and the developer, how much competence they can provide. Is this project going to go further? What is your input, etc. Yes, how did we solve it? So I usually say to our customers, well, our team comes first, and that's how we have to solve the problem. So through more direct communication with customers and negotiations and transparency of our perspective on the situation. Well, mainly thanks to our team who had made very good reports and documentation of our work. So we need to replay the things. We need to go through it. We didn't give up because the idea we believed in and the technique we believed in integrating it really worked, and we were more of the surprise stage than in the sad stage. So we want to go on, and that is what you need to learn, that your passion should drive you, not for not giving up. I will say we learned much, which it's hard to explain in 1 minute, but I will say you need to major and twice what you before you cut the rod. So you need to major. Set realistic expectations. Our tested agile philosophy really worked because we were agile, so we could able to flexibly adopt the idea and go further with it. That how we can solve, and that is the pure learning from us, is being agile in these projects, because it's about new technology. If you want to innovate, if you want to I will say succeed or test more in the project, not to give up in early stages, you need to be more agile in every stage of project implementation or idea implementation. Well, we all have failures and we want to succeed. That's the question. Can we avoid that? Well, it can't be. That's how you learn it. That's how you grow. So my advice is fail fast. If you're a small company, you need to fail fast and inexpensively and get back in there. I'll just repeat my points. What I actually want to summarize and with for you to take from us is fail fast and inexpensively if possible. Effective communication is really important. Don't undermine it. And set realistic expectations when you test new products for use and innovate. Early involvement of key players is necessary so they can give you the idea. They can rework with you what is expected and what is not expected, and you can set the guidelines before you sign up something new. And keep it agile. Well, this is my website, our website on IQVision. I can share the slide later with Leslie and they can share with you. Thank you for me.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Peggy.
Yes, now I can hear you.
Now, what is very important, I'm looking forward when we have the panel to talk about what would you do different in terms of communication, the internal communication that is very important when we have a project. But we say like cliffhanger, and we'll go back to this question as soon as we are on the panel time. And remember, please, guys, you can write your questions here on the chat, so then we can make these questions to our speakers when it's the time. Thank you, Peggy. So
thank you very much.
Now I will welcome to an old friend. Hello, Magnus.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. So, okay, are you ready? I will make a wonderful introduction about who you are. I mean, you have so many companies that is difficult to follow, but I will do my best, okay? Okay, so Magnus Eng. Magnus has 20 years of experience in digital marketing from his own companies and international assignments. Everything from CEO of the e-commerce company Euroflorist, founder to Top Visible, Rank Trail, and Cake Topiary, but also assignments from TripAdvisor, Daniel Wellington, Swatch Group, Telia, Oatly, Icano, Axis, Communication, and Tetra Pak. On his journey as entrepreneur, he has faced both challenges and successes. One of those missteps will be shared in this session of Once Upon a Failure. Magnus, we cannot wait to listen to your story. So the stage is yours.
Thank you for that introduction. You made my day.
Yay!
Well, let's start. Back in the days, I was an e-commerce manager at a flower business industry. We actually sold flowers online. I think we are going back 22 years. We sold flowers online. I was an employee. and we had a presence in 3 countries when I started. We acquired companies, and we went from 3 countries up to 10 in a couple of years. I became also a partner and a shareholder, and final years I was the head of e-commerce and marketing for whole Europe at this company. During those years, we saw a potential, me and a friend or colleague, that we could do a similar service in another industry. And we approached the management and we approached the other shareholders, but they were not interested. After 10 years, I decided to leave, and I saw the potential to, take this idea and set up a replica, copy and paste and go into the bakery industry. So I did. I took my savings. I went out to friends, families, and pools. My former colleague from the flour business, he came into the company as well. We wanted to build a web shop and to build an order system for the bakeries, so they could get the orders. And we started to build a network of bakeries in Sweden. We started to sell. We sold quite quick. We sold cakes for like 20,000 euro per month in a couple of months after we started. And everything looked quite promising. We saw that we needed funding, we needed money. And we contacted different investors. And we were told that you have to go abroad. You have to go abroad because you have a case. You have to go abroad. We were not really ready for that, but we decided to do it because we needed the money. So even though we felt in the stomach that, but we decided to do it. So we made a pitch, we made a case, and we had the vision to be the Europe's largest network of bakeries and also selling cakes online. So we actually managed to get one of the most well-known VC companies, venture capitals in Sweden, to invest. I think it was around 1.5 million euro. And it was decided that should be split up in 2 parts. So we got the first part and we went abroad. So we started up in Poland and we started up in Germany. And to start up in Germany, we approached one of the former colleagues from the flour business. He left the flour business, so he was free, and we knew him. So he started up in Germany. And when we were ready to get the second part of the funding from the VC company, at that time they changed the CEO. We're talking about 9-10 months in between, or maybe 1 year. I don't really remember. I think it was 1 year. They changed the CEO, and that company, the VC company, decided to actually exit, or at least not reinvest, in total of 40 companies. And we were one of those 40. And we were running out of cash. And we just started up in Germany. We had a lot of costs there in staff and marketing. And the main investor stepped out. And we had too high overhead cost, and the colleague in Germany was too costly for us. So it's starting to get a crisis. We were running out of money. And the problem was that it was quite hard for us to attract more money because the lead investor didn't want to reinvest. And that is sending a signal to new investors that, okay, something is strange. So we had to make a decision. I took my more money to put in, or actually I didn't. I brought in money, but actually I took a loan. And to put in money, and some other partners as well brought in some money, and we decided to bootstrap. The German colleague had to go because he didn't do what he was expected to do, and my co-founder had to leave because we had to decide who of us should leave, and I was the marketing guy, and knowing SEO and Facebook and everything, and he didn't know that, so I had to stay. So we bootstrapped, and I managed to get a positive cash flow for a couple of months, and it was a little bit promising there. But at the same time, we had a really bad debt. We had a bad balance, and we were running out of time. We needed more money, and at the end, I need to take on Valentine's Day. Actually, I needed to file for bankruptcy, and those of you have those experience is quite tough. A lot of emotions. You feel like you lost everything, and I have to, people had to go, and the feelings were hurt. Relations in the bake industry were hurt, and I lost, if I remember correctly, 150,000 euro, and I also have some loans that I have to pay off. So what I did, actually, I had started in another company. It was an agency, a marketing agency. So I went in there, I took an appointment there, and a friend of mine had some money on his pocket. So we decided to purchase some parts of the bankrupt companies. We actually bought the production of eatable cake pictures, where you can print pictures, images on sugar. So we bought that part. We built a web shop, and actually today we are, I think we're a quite small company, very niche, but we have a revenue of 200,000 euro. We started to recruit, and also I have exited the flower business. I get cash out so I could repay all the loans. And my agency where I'm working today, we're growing good and bigger than ever and profitable. So, a lot of learnings here. I mean, I was so focused on winning. I was a little bit too blind. I took too high risk, taking loans. And also, there are no guarantees if you don't have it on paper. So, with the VC company, venture capital company, we didn't have everything in the written terms, not the second part. There was an oral terms. And that's quite logic when you look backward. But at that time, we were in it's a lot of energy. We're doing a lot of stuff, and time was running out. And also, we had too high costs at the company. I mean, I took a small salary at that time, but I have other stuff that quite high salary. At least, for example, the German colleague had a really high salary. So my advice to you is to go for your gut feeling. Don't rush into what the investors say. Have everything on paper. Don't take too high risk. And if you fail, you might hurt it. You should fail forward. You should go up on the horse again and try to continue, because I know so many entrepreneurs who failed. So we all do. But you don't have to do it with loan and debts. Try not to do that. Try to build up savings and to risk those, but never take any more loans. There might be 1,000 or more advices I could give, but those are the ones I come up with at the moment. And if you want to reach me with questions or whatever, you can find me here. You can find me on LinkedIn. Search for my name, and you can email me as well. My company today is Top Visible, and that is the agency company. So feel free to contact me if you have any further questions. Thank you.
It has been a very great presentation and very honest. So we really appreciate that you had shared with us your feelings and everything. So we really appreciate it. So I will welcome everyone now to the panel. Hello, guys. So, okay. So now I would like to start. I will we'll have this chart overlay where we can read the questions. But actually, I already have one question. Okay, I will remove it and I will read them. So we have the first question. What is the most common digitalization failure you have encountered in your professional career? and how would you advise others to avoid it? So who would like to start?
I can go.
Yes, please, Magnus. Go ahead.
The most common error I see with digitalization is that people try and automate to 100%. And that's usually never possible. Or if it's possible, it's very expensive in the industry or any business to automate something to 100%. So trying to do it 100% digital might not always be the correct way to go. That's a common error I see. Many think that, oh, once everything is automated, we will be golden. But you will never get there. You will have too many troubles getting there.
What about you, Peggy?
I really agree with Magnus, what he's saying. That is what our project was about. We said to the customer, it's like they had 90% of assurance from the research, and what we can do is 3% more for innovate. So 100% chance you should set really boundaries for, that's what I mentioned, set realistic expectations when you calculate those statistics before agreeing, and early involvement is very necessary for that. So you have belief of your developers, your team, investors, if you're having investors, or clients having investors. So it is basically key players of early involvements of key players is very, very necessary. So my advice is set realistic expectations. I still say that.
Magnus? Eng?
Yeah, mine is similar. I think it's a lot of projects. As an entrepreneur, you have expectations, that you have wants. You try to describe them, and then you have a partner or several partners that help you in building the solutions. And there's always a gap, and that is you have expectations, and you might not be the best to describe and specify what you want. And then you have the delivery side, and it's always a gap, is my experience. And also from friends and in my network, that there's always a gap that you don't get what you want because you haven't described exactly what you want, or you have a partner who didn't understand what you want. So that is my most common, we say, experience over the years.
And I have another question from the chat, and they say, what advice do you have for others who are just starting their digitalization journey? Magnus Lindgren, we start with you.
Well, it depends on if you have a business and start digitalizing it, or if you have a new idea and start digitalizing it. But if you have a running business, I say do it in iterations. Do small parts and do the parts that are do the most effect first. So again, limit the scope to the most efficient things first, and don't try and take the whole thing at once, because once you start digitalization, you will also realize that the original ideas might not be the correct path. And again, that's the same basically. Maybe for if you're starting a new, is also start with the thing that are easiest and have a clear scope. So reiterating what we're saying here.
Peggy?
Yeah, I will say starting a new venture requires a huge or massive flexibility of idea, flexibility to change. And as this presentation is about failure as well, so you need to really understand that you have to fall back. You should fall back as well to learn the hurdles, because there will be always many potholes which you say, oh, I can avoid this, but there will be one more, and then you cannot say that, oh, I will avoid that to learn something. You need to fall in that pit as well and then learn back. So it's basically this graph. So there is no success graph like this. I feel that. So be agile, I'll say, if you start new venture. And agile doesn't propose that you cannot pre-prepare, rethink your ideas, rethought your strategies. And again, my stress is on early involvement of key players who you want to interact with your plans and ideas and impose further.
Magnus?
That will be my advice.
Yeah, I'm a little bit into what Magnus said before as well there. Start small, do small parts. trying to have some kind of proof, a business proof, and you don't have to build everything at once. You might do something digital, semi-manual. So it in front could look and feel like it's digital, but in the end you can do it a little bit manual until you have the proof of a business case that you actually get what you want, instead of investing a lot before you even know if it will be working.
And I would like you guys, this is like a question for all of you, and I hope that we can have a small conversation here, because we have a question from the chat, and I think that this is that is a very relevant discussion, because the three of you are entrepreneurs, and I do believe that when you are an entrepreneur, you have something, I don't know what, but we tend to bounce back like better and more resilient and so on. But maybe those are not entrepreneurs. There is like more difficult for them when you're working with a team, of developers and so on, that they don't have this like perhaps this entrepreneurship mindset. So the question is here, what would you say is needed within a team to be able to fail fast? We were talking about feelings, we're talking about how we face failure. You say, Peggie, that the team goes first. So can we go and discuss more about these soft skills and what a team needs to have, and soft skills as a leader? Who would like to start? It was a good question, I hope.
It's a very good question.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just thinking about obvious things, that you should have a openness, that you embrace failure, that you allow people to realize that the failure is just another way forward. But I have nothing else to add at the moment that I think of directly.
I think also, the culture of failing is okay, because if you can see it as a learning, experience and learning, because it's a way of testing something. So, okay, you fail. Now we know that will not work. So let's test something else. Having that mindset as a leader, I think that's a winning.
I think showing that you fail
yeah.
yourself as well, perhaps, as a leader.
Yeah. I was on that, actually, that you have to accept to fail as a leader. You can very transparent, very real. So that is, you need to actually show as a leader. It's nothing. Nobody starts from top, So you need to be transparent as well as with the team. You need to take team with you, that matches our values, though. That together is what we create. I showed in my slide too. So that's why I put team first, and we put team first, because that's the surfing, that's the row which sails longer, ship that sails longer. So I will say you need to show, again, same as Magnus saying, show as a leader that you can fail, and then you can bounce back and do again. So be flexible there.
So what we say is, like, leaders, they should be more open. And also we're talking about that we have to create this safe space for failure inside our organization, if it is like a startup or a scale-up, a large organization, or if we're working for the municipality. That is very important, that your team doesn't feel afraid to fail and come and tell you that they are failing. So guys, is there something else would you like to add before we say goodbye? Some reflection about today's presentations?
Failing is okay. It's a learning.
Peggie or Magnus, who wants to go first?
Magnus can go first.
Okay, Magnus.
I'd say talk to everybody about your idea and your failure and everything. You will get lots of feedback. So just keep talking about it with anyone, and you will get feedback on what you're doing.
That's a very good advice. Peggie.
And I'll say realistic expectations is very important. Don't undermine that. You need to be real when you innovate, when you do something new. and set and match the values, what you believe with it as a customer. So you can actually choose that. So don't be afraid of that. Be real.
So thank you so much, guys, for daring to be here, for accepting the invitation to be so open. We learn a lot from you. And I want to say thank you to all our viewers for being here with us, that you have been rooting from us from the first episode. And wow, now we have a great setup. So thumbs up for the team. So thank you, guys. And I see you in the next session after the summer. Bye-bye. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.